The Flash is one of the longest-running shows and one of the more successful ones in the Arrowverse. It has run for 7 seasons, and number 8 is on the way. The show was first screened on October 7th, 2014. After almost a full 7 years, The Flash is still going strong. These are The Flash best action scenes. But before we get into the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on so you don't miss any of the new videos we post. The Flash. For anyone living under a rock and Rip Van Winkle, I am quickly going to explain what the show is all about. After being struck by lightning, Barry Allen wakes up from his coma to discover he's been given the power of super speed, becoming the next Flash, fighting crime in Central City. He does this with a bevy of other action heroes who regularly appear in the series, and Barry appears in their shows. For example, in the series Supergirl, Melissa Benoist as Supergirl had Flash appear in some of her episodes, and she appeared in many of his, hence the term Arrowverse, referring to the show Arrow as well. All characters live in or close to Central City. Central City is, central to all characters of the Arrowverse. The best action scenes. The Flash has loads of action scenes, as every episode has at least one and sometimes more than one. So, over the course of 151 episodes, we have more than 300 action scenes. We went looking for the best ones among those. Flash vs. Arrow in Season 1, Episode 8. Once the episode's title was announced, we all knew this fight scene was coming. And while the hero battling hero plot twist can be cliché, Flash against the Arrow was one of the season's highlights. When Roy Bivolo used his rage-induced powers as Barry, our hero subsequently found himself more aggressive and angry towards his friends. Things took a turn for the worse when Barry as Flash attacked Eddie during a date with Iris out of jealousy. This forced the visiting Oliver Queen to suit up and intervene. Despite not having any superpowers, Oliver put up an impressive fight against his mentally unbalanced friend, using his combat skills and trick arrows. Oliver was eventually able to restrain him, and when Cisco and Joe turned on the multicolor light device, Barry became normal. While these two battling each other against made us feel like the frequency of these battles should be avoided for future crossovers, we'll be lying to ourselves if we didn't at least think about these two going against each other at least once, and this brawl definitely delivered. The Flash vs. Zoom in Season 2, Episode 6. This fight scene is epic, and might be Flash's biggest loss. Zoom is far scarier than anyone on Team Flash could possibly have realized. Barry tried to throw a lightning bolt at him, and Zoom caught it and launched it back at Barry. After that, things went from bad to worse for Barry. Zoom and Barry ran around, and when they hit the ground running, Zoom broke Barry's back. Wells tried to help by shooting a speed-dampening bullet at Zoom, but Zoom caught it and stuck it in Barry's chest instead. What happened next is what made Zoom so scary. He took Barry's limp body to the newspaper so that they could see how their hero had fallen. Then he ran him to the police station to declare himself the victor over Flash, and the cops opened fire, but Zoom caught all of the bullets with ease. Zoom's final stop was Star Labs. Barry was not even moving at this point. He was bleeding and near death, and Zoom said that Barry just was not fast enough. Then he stabbed him. What a thrilling fight. The Flash vs. Everyman in Season 1, Episode 19. This is a fight where we saw Flash fighting Flash and some other familiar faces. Hannibal Bates is a meta who can morph into anyone. As Barry closed in, Bates, aka Everyman, started morphing into the people closest to Barry. He started with Caitlin, and you could see that Barry was startled. He was struggling with a conundrum as to how he could possibly hit her. Bates used that to his advantage and pepper sprayed Barry. Barry shook it off. Barry then fought back, and Everyman turned into Barry's love, Iris. After a punch to the throat for Iris, Everyman morphed into Eddie. Barry knocked Eddie around and he slammed him into a wall. Next up on Everyman's morphing list, the Flash. This is when the fight got really cool. Everyman as the Flash was not as fast as Barry, but watching the Flash battle himself was still pretty cool. Barry bested Everyman and injected him with something that made Everyman weak, and he collapsed, leaving Barry as the one and only Flash still standing, having won the fight. The Flash, Arrow, and Firestorm vs. Eobard Thawne, Wells. in Season 1, Episode 22. After Wells was exposed as evil, Barry needed to take him down, especially since old Dr. Wells, really Eobard Thawne, had reactivated the particle accelerator. Barry enlisted the help of Goth, Oliver, and Firestorm. Barry and Wells ran in a circle as Oliver tried to fire an arrow, but the speedsters were too quick for Arrow. Barry got out of the way long enough for Oliver to nail Wells in the leg with an arrow and for Deathstorm to hit him hard with a fire blast. Oliver's arrow was not just any arrow. It was equipped with some Palmer Tech goodness that disabled Wells' speed. That, however, did not slow this fight down. Wells and Oliver started battling, hand to hand. Just some good old-fashioned punching, while Barry went to save Ronnie, who had been launched into the air by Wells. Barry got back in time to save Oliver before Wells killed him, and Barry and Wells ran up a building before Firestorm knocked Wells to his death. Another epic team fight for the books. The Flash vs. King Shark in Season 2, Episode 15. King Shark was a meta. That was a giant walking shark who wore pants. That made quite the scary image. King Shark wanted the Flash dead and would have stopped at nothing to do it. Team Flash rigged up a Flash dummy to lure King Shark to them, and he took the bait. So the team tried to reel him in. Their plan did not quite work out, and Barry had to run on water to escape King Shark. This action scene could have ended up being terrible or a cliche, but it managed to be one of the coolest battles of the show. As Barry ran on water to escape the giant shark man, King Shark swam after him, propelling himself through the waves to keep up with his prey. Once they were far enough out, Barry began to run in a circle, electrifying water. He then hit King Shark with one final zap, and he was done. That was the end of another Flash enemy. The Flash and Cisco versus The Rival and Alchemy in Season 3, Episode 2. After setting things right again, Barry had to deal with the consequences of Flashpoint. One of those was The Rival. In the alternate timeline, The Rival and Kid Flash were the only speedsters, and when Barry fixed things, he messed up The Rival's life. Dr. Alchemy, however, was able to make The Rival remember the alternate timeline, and he even gave him his powers back. The Rival decided that the Flash had to pay for messing with the timeline and changing people's lives, so he picked a fight. They ran through the city, scaling buildings and weaving through streets before Flash knocked into the Rival, sending him flying. Fast forward a bit, and Flash finds Rival later again, only this time he was not alone. Rival ripped Barry's lightning bolts from his ears, and the two battled it out. The Flash was about to get clobbered when Cisco appeared and hit Rival with a Vibe blast. Flash and Vibe made a great team, and were able to take down the Rival once they started fighting together. The Flash vs. Pied Piper in Season 1, Episode 2. With super hearing and sonic blaster gloves, Pied Piper gave Barry quite the run for his money. He once worked at Star Labs under Wells, but was fired after he tried to warn Wells about the instability of the particle accelerator. When the accelerator exploded, Pied Piper was one of the people affected and gained superhuman hearing. In the pre-blast days, he was already incredibly smart and arrogant. He used his new powers to seek vengeance on Wells for firing him. He decided the best way to get to Wells was by taking out Flash. Pied Piper blasted the glass windows and the cop cars in the building, but Barry was only knocked down briefly by Pied Piper's gloves. Once Barry pulled those supersonic gloves off of Pied Piper's hands, he was no longer a threat. But Pied Piper decided to turn the battle into a psychological one instead of hinting to Barry that Wells may be keeping secrets. The Flash vs. Trajectory, Season 2, Episode 16. Trajectory is the name given to Eliza Harmon by herself because, as Cisco says, the crazy ones always name themselves. Before she was a crazed villain speedster, Eliza worked with Caitlin Snow. Eliza became addicted to Velocity 9, which is what was making Jay sick. It's a quick way to get super speed, but it comes with some terrible side effects. For Eliza, the addiction to super speed overpowered the person she used to be. In her hunt for more V9, Trajectory raced into Star Labs, locked Barry up, and fought his team. She held a gun to Jesse's head before Wells and Caitlin finally agreed to make her some of the speed serum. Later, when Jesse was high on the V9, she destroyed a bridge with over 200 people on it. Barry was able to save them, but he could not get through Eliza to save her. Eliza injected herself with more V9 and vaporized into a burst of blue lightning. There are still many great action scenes of The Flash out there, and also many more to come. We are certainly looking forward to some more, and we're sure real Flash fans are with us on that. That is all for today. Take care and see you back for our next video.